Hello, welcome to the Accounting and Finance Society podcast. This is the first episode of our podcasts. In this episode, we are discussing about the topic of short selling and investment. Our guest, Dom, knows everything there is to know about short selling and investment. So just explain to our listeners what short selling is.
Right, thank you, Jake. I wouldn't say I was an expert on short selling, but I do know a little bit about it. And it is a very, very interesting subject. And actually, before I came out tonight, I was explaining it to my 80-year-old mother, who definitely hasn't got a finance background, but I think she got it at the end.
Right.
Okay, so shall I do my best to explain it in what I think is simple terms, in a way?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
People in the city, investors and brokers and bankers, they have a way of doing something which is called short selling or shorting. And basically what they do is businessman A borrows some shares from businessman B. And he says to businessman B, I will give you those shares back and a little bit on top. But sometimes he does it through a broker. So businessman B doesn't even know that he's loaning some shares to businessman A. So anyway, businessman A buys these shares, and let's say he borrows 1,000 shares at £1 value, and he immediately sells them. So he gets £1,000. That's simple to start with. So he's got to pay businessman B, or his businessman B's broker. He's got to give him 1,000 shares back at some point in the future. It might be 2 weeks or a month or something. So what happens is he gets £1,000, and then either he circulates rumours, or there's a loss of confidence, or sometimes they point towards something that's been overvalued. So they weren't really worth £1 a share. They might have been worth much less. So the stock market being what it does, it goes down. So the shares, instead of being worth £1 each, become worth 50p each. At which point, businessman A buys 1,000 shares at 50p, and then he gives businessman B, via the broker, 1,000 shares back, plus a little bit of a bonus for the broker usually. So businessman B gets all of his shares back, but they're only worth half as much as he'd got paid for them. And businessman A, meanwhile, has made £500 clear profit, which is very nice. Thank you very much indeed.
So he's kind of like sabotaging businessman B's shares, so in a way.
In a way, but sabotage is an ugly word, my friend.
Yeah. How does it usually affect the share price when people start doing short selling?
Well, when somebody like George Soros, if you have heard of him.
I think the name rings a bell.
Yeah. He was the multi-billionaire businessman who bet against the pound back in, what was the year? 97, I think it was. I'm not entirely sure about the facts, but basically he bought £10 billion worth of pound sterling, and then he waited until the pound was worth much less than he'd bought it for, and then he shorted it, sold them all back. So he made an absolute fortune, nice. Billions, from doing diddly squat.
Really? So did he have like insider knowledge or what?
Ooh, insider knowledge.
Are there any rumours around? Pounds fell quite a bit. Do you think it'll fall even more?
Yeah, probably. Not that I'm any financial wizard at all.
Right.
But the fact is, people like George Soros, they have teams of people, and you've probably seen them, that Will Smith thing, The Meaning of Happiness, I think it was called. You get a dozen different screens, and they've got all sorts of Dow indexes, and this is going up and that's going down, and it's all about spotting trends. And basically, all of the city around the world, these high finance people are basically professional gamblers, because if you're betting on a horse race, then they would call you a professional gambler, because you think, well, the going is good, this horse likes these type of tracks, this one doesn't like that one, it's been doing well so far, but it's got a new trainer, and there's all sorts of things, and the gamblers put it all together and say, right, I reckon in the 12:30 at Chepstow, Lucky Lady was going to win, and they put a bet on it, and then that bet comes and they win loads of money. But in the finance, you can bet on the horse winning or on the horse losing, and you can win either way. So it's a win-win scenario, really.
Right. Yeah. Is this a legal way to make money, or is it illegal?
No,
Or
it's
is
It's legal.
it's legal, but they do sometimes ban it.
Right.
This thing, short selling,
like certain countries, or
yeah, countries have sort of rules on it. Like, for example, I think the first example of short selling was back in about 1644, a long time ago.
really?
A long time ago, yeah.
What were they short selling?
It was in the Amsterdam exchange, because
Oh,
Amsterdam and London used to be the big places to be. And so whether it was in tulips or something, I don't know. But basically, he shorted. He was the first one to do it, and he made an absolute fortune. But sometimes it goes wrong, and you can buy some shares, sell them, and then the share price goes up.
Right.
In which case, you can make a huge loss,
Right.
which they don't want to do. But the whole of the thing about finance is confidence of the markets. So there can be a rumour about something, and then everyone goes, oh, sell, sell, sell. Or there can be a rumour and everyone goes, buy, buy, buy.
Right.
It's just based on that. So if somebody like George Soros, for example, suddenly dumps everything, everyone else is going, oh my God, George Soros has dumped everything. What does he know? Sell, sell, sell. Why? He's doing it. Sell, sell, sell. And then they make a fortune. So none of these people actually produce anything of value. Nothing you could use for cooking or washing your car or sitting on. They produce nothing of any value whatsoever. And they make an enormous amount of money by doing that.
So it's a good way of making money then.
Oh yeah, if you want to make huge amounts of money, go into the city. Because, yes, as they say, share prices can go up and they can go down. But because we know that they can win whether they go up or whether they go down, then they always win.
Mm.
So for some people to win, other people have to lose. But the people that lose are you, me, the tea pickers of Ceylon, the child slave labour, picking cocoa so we can have cheap chocolate bars.
Yeah.
Somebody always loses.
Yeah.
There's never. You can't. You to have £1 million. Basically, that means 1 million people have got to give you £1. So if you become a billionaire, then 1 billion people have got to give you £1. So if your wages are only £10 a month from picking tea in hot temperature, and then somebody takes £1 from you, that's a hell of a lot of money for you.
Yes.
But it's a hell of a lot of money for them.
Is there any economic disadvantages for short selling? Has it ever affected the economy?
Oh, God, yeah. In fact, I was reading about that. At one point, there was short selling, and it basically bankrupted every private bank in Scotland.
Really? When was that?
When was that?
Oh, this was back in like 1800s.
1800s?
Oh, it's been going on for a long time. It's not a modern thing at all. You know, like I say,
Is
1844.
that why the bankings are not doing enough business nowadays as well?
Have they put any regulations?
Regulations. Well, you see, they had. Sometimes they say, "Oh, this is impossible. You can't do this. This is terrible. It's bad for the economy. It's bad for everybody," and it basically is. And they say, "Right, no more short selling. Can't do that." And then another government come in and say, "No, free enterprise," and then they take away the constraints.
Mm.
So back in 1929, when the Americans had the Great Depression, Wall Street crashed because of short selling and also all sorts of misdemeanors, because they can do anything they like, really. They just have incredibly complex things, futures, securities, blah, 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 blah.
Mm.
But basically, it means that they can do whatever they like, and they contributed to the Great American Depression, when millions of people died, people starved to death. The Dust Bowl, everything all went to pieces because these financiers basically got so greedy, the whole bubble burst, confidence went, and everything sank. But they didn't sink. The really rich people, the robber barons of America, did very well, because they always do.
Yeah.
So the poor people pay for it. I mean, they allowed short selling in 2007. They took some of the restrictions off, because like you say, Jack, don't people say, no, we can't do this? And they do. But they often have a belief, like say Thatcher, that their way, the free market, will decide everything and sort everything out, and it'll all be lovely and fine, no problems at all. Just trust us and carry on doing what you're doing, which is giving us money.
Right.
And then they got rid of the regulations, huge bubble, everything went to shit. Pardon, am I allowed to say good? Went to shit?
Yeah, it's all right.
Is that all right? Yeah. Everything went to shit. 2008, people all over the world lost money, and instantly, rather than saying, as they do with the rest of the market, well, if it crashes and it goes. That's capitalism for you. Only the fit survive. But just because, well, we don't want you to fail, you're too big to fail, we will bail you out, and, we'll hopefully make a few little changes and things so it doesn't happen again, but no, not really. So it's basically all the same as it has been before.
Mm.
We paid 90 billion or far more possibly to bail these people out, and they carried on getting bonuses, and they carried on living in their massive houses, driving their massive cars and having massive holidays and all the best. They didn't suffer at all.
So yeah, it's pretty clear from what you're saying that the average person can't do short selling.
No, God, no.
So it's pretty much only a rich man's option.
Oh, absolutely.
Isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, like I said, brokers, if you have a brokerage house, you're made for life. You cannot possibly fail. And if you do, then the government will bail you out. It's great, isn't it? I invest in my own ways of thinking.
Right.
I invest in myself. I educate myself, and I read, and I study, and I think.
All right.
But I don't have any investments in anything. No money.
Right. So yeah, are you planning on? So I've heard that you're planning on writing a book. Is it?
Well, I'm halfway through one book, and I'd like to write other books. It's time, really.
What's it called?
Well, the book I have written. Well, you might be thinking, it's going to be something about finance or something clever like that. Actually, no, it's about a time-travelling teenager.
Oh, right. Okay, that's really interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like H.G. Wells sort of thing.
Yeah, in a way. Yeah, I mean, H.G. Wells, Orwell, people like them have brilliant ideas which are expressed in fiction.
Yeah.
Like 1984, George Orwell.
It's like 100 years ago, H.G. Wells.
Yeah.
Orwell was like 70 years ago as well.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, imagined flying machines and bombs and missiles and TV and all sorts of stuff. It's absolutely incredible. So, yeah. So mine is fictional, completely fictional.
Yeah.
But it has a lot of messages in it.
Yeah. And Huxley's Brave New World as well.
Oh, my goodness, yes. Yeah. These are the people we should be reading and listening to and taking notice, not taking notice of billionaires.
I'm sure Orwell would have a thing or two to say about short selling.
Yes, he would indeed. Yes, yeah. I mean, I've reread 1984 recently, and amazing book, absolutely.
Do you think it'd be for regulations, Orwell?
It'd be what?
Do you think it would be for regulations against short selling?
No. I mean, I think in his book he talked about capitalists. The toffs in the big bowler hats. That's where they got their sort of vision of them from, which are today's Tories, really. But he was much more about humanity and about how we should not kowtow to loads of rules and regulations, and we shouldn't have Big Brother.
Oh, right.
You know,
So,
he coined the term Big Brother
yeah,
all the way
he
back
did.
then.
What do you
Yeah.
mean by Big Brother?
Basically, someone watching over you.
Yeah. Always being watched, always being monitored.
I think he'd hate CCTVs.
Oh my God.
Yeah, he would.
Well, yeah, that is Big Brother. You know,
Yeah.
he had the view screen, like TV in every room, and with the smart TVs, apparently they have the technology in them, so they can actually listen. And in fact, our mobile phones. I tried to get rid of Google Chrome, I think it was.
You try to get rid of it?
Yeah, off my phone. I thought I don't want that
Why?
on. Well, exactly why? Why would you do such a terrible thing? But when I was going through to trying to delete it, there was this stuff saying, first of all, don't delete, this could be terrible. Everything could go wrong. It could be an absolute travesty. Oh my God, don't do it. Do you still want to do it? Yes. Are you absolutely? We have the right to turn on your phone. We have the right to use your phone as a microphone, so they could be listening. Somebody in GCHQ could be listening right now on all three of our phones. By signing on to Microsoft, what you're actually agreeing to is like, oh my God.
Yeah, the system is, everything is controlled by them anyway.
Yeah.
There's no privacy left for you.
No,
They
absolutely not.
can monitor everything, whatever you guys doing on your PC or your phone.
Yeah, they've got you everywhere. I mean, everywhere you look around, you're on CCTV.
Yes. It's terrible.
It's terrifying, really. I mean, I think Orwell would have said, right, 1984 has arrived.
Yeah,
It's here.
It's here.
Can you do, short selling? Can you do that in a depression? Does it matter, about the economic, uncertainties that we have now?
No, you can.
So you can do like any sort of
anything. You've got trade, international trade, high finance. There's really no restrictions on you doing anything.
So even if there's like a depression or something like that,
Well, you can still win because even in a depression, they still have stocks and shares, and you can still trade in those stocks and shares.
So yeah, we're just wondering, Dom, what are the what regulations should be in place to prevent short selling? What can be done about it?
Well, it's got to be done politically, really. And you were asking me while we were off air what the different political parties think of short selling and high finance. And the truth is, Labour, the Conservatives, the Democrats, the Republicans, etc., are all exactly okay with it all. They don't see any need for regulation. None of them have ever done anything major that would hurt the city, because the first thing that all the politicians say is we have to get the city right. The city is really important. It brings in most of our earnings, etc., which is complete nonsense. So none of those parties I mentioned want to do anything majorly about it. People have talked about doing something like it has been proposed that there's a tax put on every buying and selling, because nowadays an awful lot of buying and selling is done by algorithms, just machines doing things, and they're doing thousands of trades every minute or sometimes every second. And when they talk about putting in bids and stuff, they're talking about having the best possible connection, Wi-Fi, optics, so that you can do even faster trades. And people have said, well, if you paid $1 per trade, that would be the tax, and that would be an absolutely staggering amount of money. But of course, the people in the city don't want to pay any tax. They often get away without paying any tax because they're rich. So they definitely don't want regulation. But when you don't have regulation, you get things like the 2008 crash, the 1929 Wall Street crash, and it keeps on going. It never stops. The only political party who've got any standing on this, as far as I'm aware, are the Green Party, because they don't want people to be making vast amounts of money and produce nothing. And they want there to be fairness and equity, which is why they've said, no heads of corporations should pay themselves more than 10 times the average salary. So, these people pay themselves hundreds of thousands, millions of pounds. They are hugely rich, and they don't want that to change. They're happy with the status quo.
They want to maintain their,
Yeah.
What countries have actually done anything about short selling so far?
As far as I'm aware, nobody.
Nobody, not like Iceland or America or like
No,
Sweden
I think some places like Holland have better rules, but they still don't restrict high finance, because that's kind of the golden goose, as it were. Because governments want high finance. They want their own version of the city wherever it is, and they don't want regulations. So it's a kind of a...
Because it's unfair to the economy to compete with others. Countries as well.
Everyone wants the best for their own country.
Definitely.
Since we're leaving the European Union, what did the European Union think about short selling? Did they ever do anything about it?
Again, I doubt that they've ever done anything about it, because the people who are making the rules are very rich people. There is no such thing as a poor politician.
Yes.
So these people who are making the rules, the European Parliament, are made up of a great big group, or a very small group of extremely well-paid individuals, and well-paid individuals don't want to... what's the right nice term for it? They don't want to rain on their own parade. Let's put it nicely. So for them, why would they represent themselves, other rich people? So they don't represent us.
Yes.
So they're not going to make rules which make it difficult for them to get loads of money. So no, not really. No.
Yeah, okay, so I think we'll probably end it there. Thank you very much for coming and talking to us, Dom.
It's been a pleasure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And thank you, Jaspreet, for organising this whole thing. And that's it from me, Jajit. So thank you very much, everyone.